Good morning, Seneca Valley. Miss Beecraft here for lesson number 7 for our IB projects, applying ATL skills. I'm sorry if my voice is a little hoarse. I've been under the weather the past week, so I apologize. Just before we jump in, this is just a reminder for teachers that if your students have not completed the EOS survey, they should be working on that at this time. All the information and the student list is provided in the lesson plan for today. Okay, our goals for today's SEL. We're going to review the project timeline. We're going to discuss applying ATL skills portion of your project, and then you'll have some time to work on your ATL skills journal entries. Just as a reminder, we are all the way almost towards the end of our project. We've done all the things above. We're really talking about reflecting on the skills that you're developing throughout this project, and then you'll finalize the project, and I'll go over that timeline right here. So by February 20th, you should have finished your product, whatever you produced for your project, and you're going to share that product with me by February 20th through a Google slide, and I'll explain that next time. And then by March 1st, you should have written your final report, which is really just curating your things from your journal, from your Canvas, from your handbook, evidence, and then some reflections at the end of the project. And that timeline is also in your handbook. So if you need to reference it or you forget it, it's also there for you. So we've gone through a couple stages of the personal project and the IB Learner project. So we did a learning goal, product, success criteria, action plan. And so today we're moving on to this applying skills, where you're really reflecting on what skills have you been developing, both for your learning goal and for your product goal. And so one of the parts about the IB projects is it's not just creating something that is interesting for you, but it's also learning these skills that are necessary for life and college and career, and developing those. So to learn how to learn, but even more importantly is learn how you learn. And so how you use these skills throughout your project and reflecting on your growth in them. And so research shows that employees who spent just 15 minutes a day reflecting about the lessons learned showed 23% better performance after 10 days. A study of UK commuters found similar results, that those who used their commute to think about and plan for their day were happier, more productive, and less burnt out. And so reflecting on your growth, on the skills you've used, things that have gone well and things that you've struggled with is really an important part of continuing your growth and preparation for Seneca Valley, for life, career, college, everything that you need. And so for the IB projects, you need at least 2 ATL journal reflections with evidence. So on the right, you see that approaches to learning, or ATL skills. These are 5 categories that are essential for socio-emotional and academic skill development. And so across the top, you see the skill category: thinking skills, social skills, communication skills, self-management, and research skills. And then underneath, some of those big categories are broken down in what we call clusters. So types of thinking skills are critical thinking, creative thinking, and transfer. And so you need to select at least 2 of these skills that you're going to reflect on in your journal. Ideally, you would do 4, but at least 2. And you're going to reflect on what ATL skills you use to meet your learning goal and what ATL skills you use to create your product goal. And you're going to need to provide evidence. So for example, if this project, let me move my circle so you can see. For an example project, if my learning goal is to learn how to turn my drawings into animation using animation software, I might choose the ATL skill of communication skills because I had to work and talk to my art teacher and get some help developing those animation skills. I had to use research skills and information literacy specifically because I had to watch a lot of online videos and find different tutorials to help me learn the software. For my product goal, I wanted to create a short animated film on space. And so I used a lot of creative thinking in putting together that product, that short film. And I used a lot of self-management skills in order to keep myself on a timetable and ensure that I completed my product. And so you would write those up in a journal entry. And here's just an example one. So this is my one that I was working through in my product. You'll see that. So, and I'm using those thinking skills, okay? And so you're going to provide an example of how you use the ATL skill. So I'll just read it for you. When I realized I was behind schedule with my film production, I brainstormed some alternative creative ways for me to complete the project. such as changing the movements of the character to something easier to animate or adding in less complicated background paintings. Once I started the animation process, I also briefly struggled with the software I was using, as the only animation software I was familiar with was CGI. To solve this problem, I added some time into my plan to just get to know the software, playing around and seeing what worked. I realized that as I had scheduled the extra time, I didn't feel stressed and could take my time to get to know the program. This solution ultimately helped me to achieve my product, as it allowed me the time I needed to ensure I had the necessary skills. In the picture, you can see evidence of the software I used and some of the steps I took to develop my product. And then they're going to explain how the ATL skill helped you work towards your product. When I was done with my research, I realized how challenging creating a traditional animation project really is, especially as an individual amateur. I decided that I needed to manage my time really well to avoid the risk of turning in an incomplete animation, and in order to have time to troubleshoot and think creatively. Throughout my planning and brainstorming process, I would often write ideas that I had to cut because they were unrealistic, and I'd had to check that I'm not underestimating the difficulty of the project. So the student talks about how they use these different critical and creative thinking skills in order to create their product of that short animated film. And then they also included evidence to support their journal entry. So in your book, you have some scaffolded helpful journal entries. So these are some common ATL skills that students use. Sorry, I'm trying to move my bubble out of the way. So you have some, and then you have some open ones that are just open prompts where you get to choose the ATL skill. And there's a bunch of resources to help you. There's a really simple ATL chart. It's on page 50 in your handbook or page 38 in the EML handbook. It's also posted in Canvas. And so this one's nice because it has the 5 categories and it's just very simplistic. There's a more detailed ATL chart. So if you want to know a little bit more about the difference between information literacy and media literacy, and you want to see what that looks like, there's a detailed chart. It is in your handbook, but it did not print properly, so it is posted in Canvas and you can see all the descriptions there. There is also one last option. If you would like an interactive website, there is one that walks you through where you click on the ATL and it walks you through kind of thinking about what ATL skills you use. So all of those are in Canvas. They are also, some of them are in your handbook and I've listed where they are. There's a QR code for the interactive website in your handbook. So different places that can help you think about your ATL skills. So the rest of advisory, you should finish your action plan if you have not done that. And then you should start working on Part B, applying ATL Skills Journal on page 33 in your handbook. You can also, as always, do it electronically in Canvas. And you are working towards those final due dates that we already talked about. Google Slide by February 20th, that is, you finished your product and you're presenting it in this Google Slide. And then your final report by March 1st. If you have any questions, again, you can always email me or my door is always open. I'm happy to help, and have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday.